This hunting mission started out with an invite to go hunting by Milan's neighbour Richard, who I had never even met, and Richard has turned out to be one of the good buggers of the realm that I am desperately hoping I get to spend a bit more of my hunting time with. The hunting invite from Richard was to go onto a huge piece of private land. And on this private land there was a hut, and it wasn't just any ordinary hut. It was a hut that had everything that you could possibly want in a hunting hut. And this hut is situated right on the edge of a huge block of bush. And anyone that knows me and watches my hunting videos knows that I love being in the trees with my bow and arrow. And in these trees there are red deer. Now I've taken 2 young red stags with my bow, but I am yet to take a red hind. So this mission was all about trying to get my very first red hind with my bow on the deck. Now obviously I'd never been hunting in this spot before, and I never even looked at a GPS before I went there. Richard said there was a hut, there was trees, and there were red deer in the trees. Do you want to come? And I was like, I'm in. But when we got there, Richard pointed me in the right direction, gave me somewhere to start, and yeah, basically jumped the fence, walked into the bush, put my nose to the ground and started hunting. He got to 7 meters. If he was any bigger, I would have shot him. But 5 minutes, well, not 5 minutes, half an hour into the hunt on the first day, and I know I could have got the bow to full draw. I don't know if I could have got a shot at him. I could have stopped him earlier, but I probably wouldn't have. And he stopped right behind that tree. So anyway, epic first deer I've seen, but this is the first area that I've got to where I'm like, yeah, this looks good. Could smell deer. Then there's a tree over there that's all raked up with antlers, and then I hear a noise, stand still for like not even 5 minutes, and then I got a stag walking straight at me. This is epic. There's a heap of mud here. An animal's been bedded here that was covered in mud. But I'm right up high. I just heard a roar. It's like the 6th of March today, and I just heard a roar. I wish I could roar. It's raining now. All I need now is to run into one of them big stags and it's on. They ain't gonna hear me coming. Myself and Richard stayed in the hut for 2 nights, and I hunted pretty hard while I was there. But if I'm honest, I don't normally hunt right until dark. I get out of bed early, and I'm often walking into the bush in the dark for an hour or more, and I hunt hard all day, but sort of come that early afternoon, that 3-4 o'clock, I've generally had enough, and I'm quite happy being back at the hut or back at camp or out of the bush before it gets dark, and enjoy the sun go down and just enjoy that twilight part of the day. On day 2 of that hunt, it was one of those no wind, absolutely no wind days where it feels like you're driving a truck through the bush trying to sneak around. So by about 9 o'clock, I was frustrated as with trying to stay quiet and not being able to, and I thought, it's just not worth it. I'm going back to the hut. All of my tree hunting gear was back at the hut, so yeah, went back there, organised all of that, and then the plan was pretty simply just to go into the area where I'd seen that red stag, climbed a tree there and hung around in a tree for as long as I possibly could. But tree hunting for me, I gotta be confident in the spot. I gotta be confident that there is a good chance I'm gonna see something, or I get bored. And I just hadn't done enough scouting or put enough work into the tree that I was in to feel that confidence. So I wasn't in that tree for long either. So quiet. So very, very quiet. Like I said, I can't stay in a tree if I'm bored. But making the decision that day to get down out of that tree, given the conditions that I had, packing up all my tree gear and taking my tree gear back to the hut and continuing on a ground mission, was stupid. Really, really stupid. I spent the rest of that day kicking myself and thinking the best chance I had of getting a deer that day was just staying in the tree, because it was just no wind for the rest of that day. The bush was incredibly dry and crunchy, and by the end of that day I felt like I'd just completely wasted it. Day 3 and the last day of that hunting mission was pretty much the same as the day before conditions wise, but I only had half a day. We needed to be back at the hut ready to leave by lunchtime. So much for there being a bit of wind. It is quiet as, crunchy, dry. I think I'm going to spend a lot of this hunt just standing around. It is what it is. It's right there. Can smell the snake. I just heard a roar. I'm going to try roar back. I don't know how to roar, but what's the worst thing that happened? He runs away. I'm about to turn around and go back soon, so. This is nuts. As much as it pains me to say this, I'm going to have to go. And I've got a stag right there, and I reckon I know where he is. Well, looking on the GPS, there's a big gap between me and him. He's just on the ridge straight across here. And I was on that ridge on the first day, but up higher. So I know how to get up this ridge and across and around and to them. But yeah, just don't have the time. So that will be the end of this video. Choo my brothers and sisters. Thank you all so very, very much for watching. It's great fun. And I need to practice how to roar. That's close. This one isn't over just yet. I was lucky enough to get a second invite from Richard back to that spot, and I asked Richard if it would be okay if I could take the drone, because I would love to get some scenery shots of that place and the hut and the landscape and everything that goes with it to add to this video, to which Richard agreed. And Richard was also pretty excited to see the drone in action, and he had a couple of spots in mind on the drive up the farm where we could take the drone, and I might even be able to film a deer with it. So yeah, I got to go back and stay for another 2 nights in that awesome hut, surrounded by some amazing scenery and beautiful trees, and spend as much time as I possibly could in those trees trying to find a red hind and stick an arrow through its Bolar Triangle. Back in the bush once more. I only got like an hour and a half left of daylight, so my simple plan is to just go into where I seen that red stag and just hang around there and just listen to see if I can hear some roars. And then tomorrow morning I've got a whole day to go down that ridge where I seen that stag and heard that stag roaring, and hope to shank one of his hinds, or if everything goes my way, maybe even a real big stag. Back to the hut, early night. Bring on tomorrow. Just sitting on my motorbike glassing the hill face over here. We seen a hind with the drone down there earlier today. And I'm sitting here on the motorbike and I can hear roars coming out of the bush in about the area that I'm heading into tomorrow morning. So it's gonna be a long night. Talk about a long night. The boys are pretty excited. There was roaring yesterday, there was roaring last night, and there has been some roaring this morning. Richard's taken off down the hill after a roaring stag. I've left the hut at a reasonable hour. There's no point getting in the bush too early because there's fresh deer sign the second I step in the bush. And I have just done that, stepped into the bush, and excitement levels are beyond through the roof. I don't even know how to explain this one. All I'm going to do right now is just beeline it to where I seen the stag, where I got to last night. And from there I was hearing roars. So yeah, then from there I've got like 3 different stag beds on my GPS on my phone. I'm going to get down to above them, and I don't reckon I'm going to make it that far without hearing some roaring. And then if there's an animal roaring, I'm just going to try and sneak up on it. I ain't going to try to roar at it or anything like that. I'm just going to try and sneak in on it. The dream right now being to sneak up on a roaring stag and shank one of his hinds. But nothing is going to get past today. I passed an 8-point last time. I ain't passing them this time. Bring it on. Guess what? The wind is exactly the opposite of what it's forecast to be and what it was the last time I was here. So I had to drop down into a gut to keep my wind in the gut so that the wind didn't go into the area that I want to hunt. And it's just consistently blowing downhill, but that might change when the sun comes up and hits the trees. So right now I'm about at the same height as the area that I want to hunt on this ridge, and I'm 2 ridges back from it and the wind's blowing straight downhill. So I'm just going to chill out here for a bit, wait for the sun to hit the trees and see if that changes, because I'm a bit worried that if I go down around underneath that area and come up into it, that the wind's going to change, and then you can always count on the wind doing exactly what you don't want it to do, right? So yeah, anyway, just going to chill out for a bit and then make a decision. Haven't heard any roars yet, but I reckon if that animal was roaring where it was roaring last time, I don't even know if I could hear it from here. So yeah, it's a good day nonetheless. Just got to work the wind, right? It's just a part of it. Don't rush this one, Nato. Guess where I'm going? It's 12:30 and I've just heard my first roar for the day. And there's one real grumpy one straight down from me, and then there's another one, I'm guessing on the opposite face. They sound pretty close though. That one sounds like a cow. This one down below me, man, he did a big roar. That was crazy cool. Could happen yet. That shit will just break your heart as a bow hunter. I just got to a spot where I had a little gap just in there and I could see him bedded right there, and I had a shot. And the second I had a shot, what did the wind do? Started cutting hardcore this way, and I was like, no, 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 no. Knocked an arrow because I was actually going to try and get to there, and if I got to there I would have had a perfect shot down there, I reckon. His mate's still roaring on the other side of the hill here, but yeah, anyway, the wind did what the wind does, and Nato got foiled in the last 30 seconds, I reckon. 30 more seconds, and that stag would have been in real trouble. Real trouble. I don't know what the range is, but I reckon it's well inside 25, and I could have bounced the range straight through here anyway. Oh, man. That has to have been one of the most epic stalks I've ever had. I got to bow range of a bedded roaring stag before the wind ruined it. Gutted. I'm standing on the spot that I had picked to shoot him from, and that's his bed right there, and it's bang on 20 metres. I did have a few vines to contend with, which I was a little bit worried about all these vines, but if I'd got to here, I'm pretty sure I could have made it work. Gutted. You can see my footprints coming down here. I always put my toes in, dig my toes right down and underneath the leaves, and then you don't make as much noise. But didn't help me that day. What to do now? I think I might go after his mate. His mate might be bigger, eh? Alrighty, go after this other fella. When I was sitting here watching that stag roaring, and another animal spooked from right there. So hopefully there's a one just around the over that way. All of this stuff here in the sun is all stinging nettle. So I got to go wide up and around. There are beds everywhere up here. And that's what we call a fresh one. This is about where I reckon he was, and going on that, I reckon I'm about right. Well, after an epic hunt, getting 20 metres from a bedded, roaring red stag, ready to shoot, and the wind ruining it for me, I didn't really encounter too much else. Had a deer barking at me when I barked back at it, and I found a heap of fresh sign about where I believe the other stag was roaring, but the wind was swinging around all wrong, and yeah, that was pretty much the best of the hunting yesterday. So yeah, headed back to camp pretty early, filmed some time lapses, hung out with the boys, talked crap, and got out of bed early this morning, talked some more rubbish, and now I am ready to go hunting once again. Today is the last day. I do have a full day, but I probably won't hunt for the full day today. Gonna hunt a similar area. I don't reckon there's any reason going anywhere else. I'm just going to attack that same area a little bit differently today, coming from a different way. And there's a couple of guts just this side of where I was yesterday that I'm going to try. So yeah, same thing, just creeping around in the bush with my bow and arrow, hoping to shank a red hind And to be fair, anything's going to get it. So, yeah, here we go again. Bring it on. Smile from ear to ear. Excitement levels are high. There are deer roaring everywhere at the moment in all directions. So the chances of encountering a roaring stag are really, really good. Walking along, looking up here, looks beautiful, everything's cool. Grabbed a hold of some stinging nettle. Like a numpty. It definitely lives up to its name. Just heard my first roars for the morning, and he's in the direction I was headed, but the wind is quartering downhill, so if he's below me, that's not good, but if he's above me, just gonna slowly work my way in on him again, just like yesterday. Look at the size of that, would you? They say the bigger the tree, the bigger the bark. I wonder if it's the bigger the tree, the bigger the stag, because that's a good sized tree. He might just be just down here somewhere. I think he's a little bit further than I thought. I just hit some nice rubs back there. The country's opened up, got a bit more visibility. And I was like, yep, now I'm in stag country. I reckon he's actually on the other side. The deer yesterday, the stag yesterday, sounded like it was miles away. And when I first seen it, it was like 60 metres away. I was just like, what the shit? This one sounded like it was 200 metres away, and it's more like 600 or something. I'm guessing. It could be just over the hill here for all I know. I'm going to keep moving this way anyway, because the gut that I wanted to go up is just around. And from there, I'm going to be another 100 along, so I'll make the call from there. I don't really want to go down and cross this creek and go up the other side, because the guys reckon there could be hunters coming in from the other way, so stay on this side of this main creek, which is exactly what I'm going to do, especially when there's a roaring animal. Someone else could be sneaking in on them too, so anyway, exciting times. There's a bed. There's another bed. And that stag is on the other side. Bugger. This is the gut that I wanted to hunt my way up here. Wind's coming down out of it perfectly, which also means the wind's going straight at him. So even if I was the master roarer, there's probably a good chance he'd get my wind before he got here anyway. But is that going to stop me? Nope. How bad is that? Oh, not that bad. Imagine if he just came charging up here. That'd be as funny as shit. Oh, he's not very happy about it. On the bright side, I know with how bad my roaring is that that's definitely not a hunter, because if it was, they'd be dying of laughter right now. It's definitely a stag. Damn it. It was right in front of me at like 20 metres. I had fresh marks on the ground in front of me. Just moving too fast. Damn it. That was a hind too. You're not going to believe this one. I'm just storming down this ridge. I heard a couple of roars. I'm back in the same area that I was in yesterday where the roaring stag was. Anyway, I'm just storming down this ridge because I've heard a couple of roars and I was trying to locate this animal. Then I'm like, what's that? And there's a pig standing on the main ridge. I'm walking straight at it. So I stop. It lets me, well, it stopped. It's looking at me, but pigs are blind, man. They are very, very hard of seeing. Anyway, get my phone out of my pocket, start filming this dude. Then he kind of works his way off. Actually starts coming towards me and then works his way off. And then I can hear all this crunching. Crunch, 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 crack, crack, crack. And next thing you know, I can see more than one pig. And believe it or not, they just come straight at me. And they end up like, I think the closest one got to like 2 meters from where I was standing. And then, yeah, just watch them do their thing for a little while. They keep looking at me, but you'll be amazed what you can get away with if you don't move. The guy Ben here is a mad keen pig hunter, and part of the rules about coming here is that it's deer only and he wants to hunt the pigs. So I'm more than happy to let that happen, because everywhere else I go, I've got to shoot them because they're so unwanted. So it's pretty cool to have it the other way around every now and then. So yeah, I just stood there watching them and then gave them a little bit of an education. Nato styles. Hey, you little fuckers, what are you doing, man? God, Jesus, you're just gonna get shot, man. What are you doing, man? God, I love hunting. Close encounters are the best thing ever. Looks like these things were what they're eating, just some sort of little nut. I have no idea what it is. If anybody does, can you put it in the comments below for me? Because yeah, love learning all this sort of stuff. It's pretty cool. Well, that is that. I'm calling this one. What a day. What a big day, but what an awesome day. Today is Saturday. Monday and Tuesday, I'm going to make the lateral line. And on Tuesday, Richard is coming back here. And Richard is here from Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, home Thursday night. So after fishing on Tuesday, I'm going to come straight back here as well. And this one isn't over just yet. I got 2 more days, Wednesday afternoon and all day Thursday, to get my very first hind with the bow and arrow on the ground. Gonna give one more crack at it, and then it'll be fallow buck rut action. I went back and put another 2 days into trying to get a hind with my bow, and to sum that story up, pretty simply, it was eventless. So this is going to be the end of this video. Cheer, my brothers and sisters. Thank you all so very, very much for watching the Bolar Triangle. And for those of you out there that are wondering why I call my channel the Bolar Triangle, when I left school I did a butchery apprenticeship. And during that apprenticeship I learnt all things meat, including all the different cuts of meat. And there is a cut of meat in the forequarter of an animal that is called the Bolar roast. The Bolar roast runs up the inside or the back side of the blade bone. And then from the shoulder joint to the elbow along the clod bone. And then from the point of the elbow, the point of the clod bone to the top of the blade bone, forming a triangle, and that triangle is the Bolar roast. Now if you have a broadside animal and you were to stick a bullet or an arrow into the Bolar triangle, then you are going to hit the vital organs that are directly behind the Bolar triangle, and you're going to dispatch that animal as ethically as you possibly can. Now one more thing. White socks. If you watch my channel, then you know I shot a pig a while back, and then a mate of mine, Howard, shot a pig that I thought was the same pig. Went looking for evidence to prove that it was the same pig. Well, I've been back and I kicked around in that pig's bones, and I found 2 rib bones that show damage of some description, and everything lines up with it being my arrow. But it's crazy, man. I shot that pig, it was 5 meters in front of me, so the arrow was on a downward angle. Like I say, everything kind of lines up, and I got rib damage on ribs on both sides. But my arrow, if it was my arrow that caused that damage, went through that pig's rib cage below halfway. I'm looking at that just going, what? I messaged the guy, the ranch fairy in America, and he is somewhat of an expert in pig anatomy and taking pigs out with a bow. And I asked him a very simple question. Could a pig survive a shot but with an arrow through its rib cage below halfway? And he said, yep. So, yeah, check that one out. Take it from me, brothers and sisters. When you're shooting at a pig, shoot directly above its front leg and hug the lower 1/3, or you're going to learn the hard way that pigs are really, really tough. See you all again very, very soon.